Hello, and welcome to the MMA Mic Drop Podcast. My name is Jade, and I am joined by the one and only Milo McGregor, who is not only one of the nation's top up-and-coming amateur surfers, but also an emerging MMA analyst. In today's episode, we're going to talk about Max Holloway because there is a lot to discuss. In fact, we are going to debate whether or not Max Holloway is the biggest star in the UFC, and yes, that includes being bigger than Conor McGregor. But before we begin, I want to get Milo's general thoughts and feelings regarding the fight, Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. It was absolutely epic. Max Holloway entered the cage a legend already, and I think he left it as an icon. Milo, give me your general thoughts on the fight.
I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was just like I was so surprised that he was able to pick apart Justin Gaethje like that and just destroy and knock him out at the end. Like it was just like an exclamation point on it. It was already crazy that I did that, and then he finished him too, which is like insane.
Yeah, I mean, it was a technical masterclass, right? And it's funny because you and I have been on the opposite sides of the side of this the entire time. You were going with Justin Gaethje, and at first I was tentatively believing in Max Holloway, and then as time went on, I started becoming a little more confident. But I'll be honest, I was scared the whole time. Every time Justin Gaethje threw a punch, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, one we saw that Max Holloway did get knocked out in that fight, but
Mhm.
it wasn't like it wasn't enough to put him out. But I think if Justin Gaethje would have landed maybe two more of those, it could have been the end for Max.
Did you think he was going to get finished after he clocked him that one time?
Um, I thought he was I thought he was gonna get finished, but he was able to withstand it. So that proves that his chin's strong enough.
Yeah, I mean, even though I picked Max Holloway, I was nervous the whole fight. I'm thinking, just stay away from that uppercut. Most importantly,
Yeah.
the overhand right too as well. Justin Gaethje hits so hard. I mean, he's so good. A lot of credit deserves to be thrown Justin Gaethje's way. But what I saw was a level of technical acumen that was just remarkable. He was able to keep his distance. He was able to, throw with a certain amount of volume, close distance when needed, but then be able to back up at the right time. He was able to throw that spinning back kick. I think that was probably 6 times, and it landed every time. It was pretty insane. And then he's winning. What did you have him in terms of the score going into the fifth round? What did you was it 2-2 or 3-1? How did you see it?
I think I saw it 3-1
3-1.
going into the fifth. Yeah.
Yeah, I had it 3-1, but I could see how somebody could have given Justin Gaethje the second as well. But by the end of the fifth, or near the end of the fifth, I mean, it was clear it was Max Holloway's fight. He was up 4-1 at worst, or at best, and at worst he was up 3-2. He was winning. So, what were your thoughts once he um, gestured towards the middle of the cage and told and told Justin Gaethje, "Let's go." What were your thoughts when that was happening?
I mean, um, I thought that was like the worst decision he could make. So I was like, no, don't do that against Justin Gaethje. But he ended up knocking out. So that just like, yeah,
Well,
that's crazy.
yeah, and that was what was so crazy about it because I was sitting there and I'm thinking, no, don't do it. I mean, halfway through the fifth, I'm thinking just backpedal the whole time. You got this. I mean, it is such a
Yeah.
big achievement to already win. To already beat Justin Gaethje, to go up a weight class against the hardest hitter in the most stacked division because that's lightweight. Lightweight is the most stacked division in the UFC. Maybe you can make a case for welterweight. Max Holloway goes up and demonstrated better speed, better technical acumen. Was cutting angles, excellent footwork, but hey, stay away from Gaethje. And he called him to the middle of the cage. I was blown away, and I was like, "Oh my god, that was the worst decision ever." Until he
Yeah.
dropped them. Until he dropped them. And what was crazy about that, it's how he dropped them too. I mean, just the fact that he engaged. I mean, that was a BMF moment. But the fact that he knocked him out was another elevated component of it. And then the fact that he starched him to the extent that he
Yeah. Just
did.
put him straight to sleep. I couldn't believe that. It wasn't like it was a full knockout right away. He didn't just knock him to the ground and then finish him. He just knocked him out. It was cold.
Yeah, that was insane. And so, when you put these pieces together, and as I mentioned in the intro, Max Holloway was already a legend, right? And Now, I mean, he might have been already the most popular fighter in the sport, right? And this puts him in an entirely different stratosphere now. And so the question, therefore, is he the biggest star in the UFC? Is he bigger than Conor McGregor? And I think he is. And I think I believe you're going to disagree with me. Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
don't think so. I mean, Conor McGregor is so famous that he's just famous like for being famous. It's
So
like it's that big.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, so think about this. I think this goes. What is the measurement criteria? Is the biggest star the person who can sell the most pay-per-views? Is it the person who is the most popular among the UFC fans? Is it the person that has the biggest brand value or the biggest brand awareness across multiple sectors, even though they're not UFC fans? And so,
I mean, I think among UFC people, I think people like Max more and than Conor McGregor, but like overall, like people that don't really watch UFC, people just know Conor McGregor. Some
yeah,
people might not know Max.
and you're correct about that. And you look at their social media followings. I mean, Conor McGregor has a much bigger social media following. I mean, he's been in movies, he's in more commercials and so forth. So if you're taking brand value, just brand awareness, how many people know about the Conor McGregor brand? He's the bigger star. But what about driving pay-per-view sales? Is that the metric upon which the biggest star should be measured? Now, anybody watching right now might say, "Wait a minute, Conor McGregor, is the guy that has generated the most pay-per-view buys for his fights," and that's correct. But let me ask you this question right now, and Milo, I'm going to ask you this too. You have a choice to watch one fight. You can only get one pay-per-view. It's either Max Holloway versus Ilya Topuria, or it's Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. What fight would you rather watch?
Um, Probably Max Holloway versus Ilya Topuria, but I think if it was Conor McGregor against almost anybody else, I think I'd be more interested. If it was
Interesting.
like
So
Conor
this is
McGregor,
oh, yeah, this
Khabib too, I would be more interested in that.
Oh, well, you know what? I mean, if it is a Khabib too, I mean, yeah, I think I'd probably be more interested in that. I mean, because you're right. It is about matchups, but I mean, I think, and it just really shows the answer is not that easy, right? It's, if you can buy one pay per view, I think a lot of people are going to want to see what Max Holloway does next. We all want to see what both of them do next, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but I know if my answer, I'd rather see Max Holloway and Ilya Topuria. It's a higher level fight. Conor McGregor, I want to watch him fight. I love watching Michael Chandler fight. I think that's an exciting fight. And so it is interesting who can draw the biggest numbers, and it's going to be interesting to see because Conor McGregor is going to be on a big card at UFC. It's going to be the UFC was International Fight Week, so it's going to be a big card. But I imagine they're going to put Max Holloway on a big card. Maybe it might be at the Sphere. Maybe it might be in Madison Square Garden. And so the question is, what are the undercards going to look like? What's the co-main event and stuff? But I think if things are equal, I'm thinking Max might outdraw Connor. And I don't know. I could be wrong here, but I think it's possible. And for all of you watching, ask yourself, who would you, if you can spend money on one pay per view, what would it rather be? And that's one way. And the other way is, do you measure stardom by who's more popular? Do you think Conor McGregor is more popular than Max Holloway, particularly in the UFC among the UFC fan base?
No.
So my question to you, Milo, then is how do you measure who is the biggest star? Is it like you said earlier, just who's the most popular person, who can
I
generate
mean,
review buys, or
actually, yeah, I kind of I said that wrong. I mean, Max is more liked among UFC people, but Connor's definitely more popular in general.
okay? So you're thinking,
People,
okay, and that's fair. I mean,
yeah,
look, he's the
I feel
biggest.
like popularity and being liked are kind of two different things.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, I think Max Holloway. I mean, everybody loves Max Holloway. The fighters do, the fans, and I think this took him to another level where he's no
for
longer
sure.
just loved. He's revered. I mean, this guy, what he did, put it all on the line when he did not have to. And it just shows you there's something in him that's different than anybody else. I mean, whether you agree or not that he is the biggest star in the game, it's unquestioned. You can't question his toughness, his heart, and where he stands among the UFC fan base because it is as elevated as it can be. And I guess the last question for you regarding Max Holloway, Milo, is who would you match him up against next?
Ilya for sure, no doubt.
Yeah, and that's where I would go too. I mean, and people are saying hold off, fight Conor McGregor next if Conor beats Michael Chandler. What do you think about that?
I didn't even know. I didn't even think about that, but I would still rather see him against Ilya.
It's the
I mean,
better competition.
if actually, I think if Conor McGregor goes out there and just starches Michael Chandler, then I think I'd rather see that. But if Michael Chandler wins by, yeah, if Michael Chandler wins, I don't really care.
I
Ilya for sure.
Well, you know what I mean. If Conor McGregor goes out and starches Michael Chandler, and then they build Max Holloway and Conor McGregor, that'll be the biggest UFC fight of all time. And he has options. Max Holloway, he can fight Ilya Poirier. He can fight the lightweight title, or he can defend against the BMF. He could become the first person in UFC history to hold 3 belts consecutively. And what's interesting, if Dustin Poirier beats Islam in June, maybe a rematch against Dustin Poirier for the belt would be pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, that I didn't even really think about that. Yeah, that would be. I don't know who do you have in that?
Max Holloway or Dustin, or Islam versus Dustin?
Max Holloway or Dustin?
Max Holloway.
Yeah. After that, yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
'Cause
even though
didn't he show up on a short notice against Dustin Poirier?
yeah, so and that was his last time at lightweight, and that's what a lot of people were, basing their expected performance of Max Holloway was based on um, what he did when he last fought at lightweight, and it was a short notice fight. He wasn't really that fit. He was game, he was throwing down, and it was a pretty close fight. But somebody mentioned this, and I can't remember who mentioned this, but because I'd like to give this person credit, but he said, people are saying Max Holloway had problems with Justin Poirier's power. Everybody has problems with Justin Poirier's power. I mean, Justin's a big dude. He hits hard, and it was a little too much for Holloway then. Max Holloway, I think, is a better fighter. He's a lot bigger, and we saw what he did to the person who just starched, Dustin Poirier. Now, again, MMA math
Yeah.
doesn't always add up, but I think and that's a massive if Poirier can get past Islam Makhachev, then I think that's an interesting matchup, and I think Holloway would beat Dustin Poirier. And
If do you think if Max goes and beats Ilya, what do you think he should do after that?
that's a good question. I think he's got to go for maybe the 155 belt, or if Connor.
Volk?
Oh yeah, that's right. So he's got so many options, and that's what he's been saying
Yeah.
all along, right? So does he fight Volk next and defend it? Does he move up to fight for the lightweight belt? Because it is a difference. I think there is a difference if you're going to fight Islam or if you're going to fight Poirier, right? So I think that matters who holds the belt. Or do you take that Conor McGregor fight, or do you fight somebody else for the BMF? Um, what do you think? What would you rather see him? Who would you want to see him fight? Volk or Connor or Islam or Poirier?
I mean, if Connor goes and wins, I'd rather him fight Connor. But if not, probably I think he should move up and go fight Islam, and then yeah, that'd probably be the call
Now that's a scarier matchup for him. I mean, Islam
for
is
sure. Yeah.
East. And yeah, that I think that's the more difficult matchup. But hey, look, Max Holloway. I think Max Holloway can do anything he wants right now. He wants to fight to Poirier, let him. He wants to fight the winner of Conor and Chandler, let him. If he wants to fight the winner of Poirier, Islam, let him. If he wants to fight Leon Edwards, heck, let him do whatever he wants. I mean, this dude is an absolute beast. He is a true icon of the sport, and I mean, we are so fortunate that we all had the opportunity to watch it. And I think Max Holloway is the biggest star in the sport now. You disagree with me? You think that's still Conor McGregor? Let us know below, with your comments. Let us know if you agree or disagree, or who's right, who's wrong, and give us your opinion. Now we're going to move into our next two sections, kicking it with Milo and Kook of the Week. Milo, so you were at the Wedge today. Were there waves at Wedge?
It was massive.
Was it really today?
Yeah.
Actually, didn't know
It
that.
was like 15-foot faces on the waves.
Okay, so everybody watching this, and I'm going to write it down in the comments. Just Google the Wedge Newport Beach, and you'll see what he's talking about. It's insane, and it's probably child abuse that your dad lets you surf a place like that, even though you've surfed it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. All right, now let's talk about Kook of the Week. Do you have a Kook of the Week, or do you need to think about it for a moment?
Ooh, I think I'm gonna give myself the kook of the week
Again, why?
because I ate crap at Wedge bad a couple times.
You know what? Everybody does. That's like
Yep.
probably probably the hardest wave to surf. So yeah, that I give you a break on that. And then my kook of the week, it's you, but it's for a different reason. We're ready to go on podcast
Double.
last night, 9 o'clock. Milo texts me, I'm
Oh
tired.
yeah.
I'm going to sleep. So we have to
Yep.
do a day late and get this video out a day late, but that's okay.
Yep.
But hey, all good. That's all we have for you today. Milo, do you have a last word?
Drop the mic.
We're out.